Full blast. It is late in the day here. It didn't help at all for our view, so enjoy it. Enjoy it while it's there, because unfortunately it's just kind of blown out, unlike our last location. Happy Halloween from Kinky Bear's headquarters here, Artist Journal, October 31st, 2023, broadcasting from Santa Flavia, just outside Palermo, on the high seas of the imagination, the Mediterranean, in fact. And welcome back. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and Martin Joe, who I think uses AI, kind of, I'd argue, famous in the Tezos community for the Kinky Bears project, sticking with it and always kind of doing something. I just saw this little risque area on the Ghost of Communism there. There's always risqueness in Martin Joe's work, but it's hilarious. It's always full of humor. It's really well done, as we see the pumpkin with the teddy bear ears. And so I thought a fitting beginning. It was the only actual obvious Halloween work in the episode too. And I got to say, Martin Joe's just a great person, a pillar of the, it's a Marquis de Sade actually line, a pillar of the community. And so the perfect line to describe Martin Joe here. But really, truly, someone who has supported this show from the very beginning and has just been a great person. I believe out of Argentina, and I think uses AI and 3D, like Blender, perhaps. I've never used Blender or 3D tools, so it's always kind of tricky for me to figure that out. But, I think maybe Blender or something, and always kind of has this risque kind of S&M kind of kinky vibe to it. There's the green fog coming in there. So Spooky Bears Halloween special with all the characters here. And there's a cross and a little light and everything. So just a really cool, fun way to begin here. From Martin Joe, long overdue to be on the front page of the newspaper of the imagination. Spooky Bears, edition of 31. There are 28 left. 3 Tezos, 10 cents on primary. So that is awesome. And here's some of Martin Joe's other work. There's the Ghost of Communism, who maybe, it makes you wonder, was this character, like with this 3D software, you can probably take these characters out. Remember we were talking about moving layers across files? It almost seems like these are elements within this work here. And of course, Martin Joe has also been experimenting with pixel art, using Santiago's tools, checking out Ed Marola's pixel art masterclass, and everything. So this was a pretty cool drawing here too. This is a 1 of 1 for 69 Tezos. It was a little risque, so I never really showed it, but since we're here at the start, if it loads up, this might not load up. We might actually need to run through this. There it is. So a little risque here, pretty fun. That is from the notebooks. I didn't realize that was a physical, the Moner. So 1 of 1 for 69 Tezos, pretty cool drawing though. And look at that great sky. Again, I believe out of Argentina. So big shout out to Martin Joe. Also, another great, pillar of the community here, Santiago Izicodal on digital art tomorrow. So Santiago has been commenting for a while on this program. I'm actually really excited. Clearly has a lot of well-formed opinions on a lot of what we discuss here, and has left a lot of comments. And I was mentioning, maybe we should have Santiago on a space, and then other people were excited about it. I'm excited about it. It's happening tomorrow. Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. With the time change, it'll be 2:30 in Berlin and in Sicily. But join Runetoon and me and I and we're going to have a great discussion with Santiago Izicodal. So lots to look forward to there. And that is pinned on my Twitter feed. Comments from yesterday's show, and thank you everybody for watching again. It's always a kind of a miracle for me. Just people continuing to care. It's a weird kind of Groundhog Day for me, to be perfectly frank. It's a weird kind of Groundhog Day where every day I'm just happy, that few people watch and that I get my 3 or 4 retweets and I go, okay, whatever. Anyway, let's look at the comments here. Human Boy, thank you for sharing Secret Mission Santiago. It was very fun. Right. So, of course, all the Santiago portraits, more hilarity, really, from the great Tezos community here, and just the great blockchain community, really. It was very fun to see everybody's interpretation and make one of my own. You shared a few I had not seen as well. Lovely episode as always. Thank you, Human Boy. Really nice. Scamra, amazing show with so much great work packed in. I don't know how you do it almost every day. Thanks for showing two of my works. Yeah, it's a bookmarks. When I see something I like, I bookmark it, and it's kind of that simple. And then in the morning, I load it up with fresh eyes. I do a final edit, put it all together, and press record. And here I am, once again, Runetoon. I can see the digital art scene completely overwhelming the physical contemporary trad art world through volume itself. Yeah, a provocative thought that's been in my brain here for a few days, and if it means anything. I think you are touching on something special. So Runetoon with the good antennae here. It's an element of value that has been there from the start, but increasingly so with social media boom of the 21st century. Artistic development values aside, market-driven values and visibility itself is contingent on quantity over quality. And the gap between the significance of quantity and quality is continuing to widen. Would you agree? And if so, what does this mean to you? I'm not sure I do agree. In a sense, well, it depends what we mean. In the sense that there is probably more work than ever being released. And perhaps in that respect, maybe the gap is widening with there's so much being released, and the amount that is relevant, as we were talking about last time, or significant, perhaps just relatively speaking, is diminishing, even though, maybe there's the same amount of good art being made, quote unquote good art, whatever that means. But with all of the other, it's true in the sense that, if I understand you right, Runetoon, I think it's never been more popular to be an artist in the last 10 years. I remember actually telling people in conversation, maybe around 2007, and I was concerned. As an artist my whole life, I was concerned that, it's kind of becoming cool to be an artist. I remember saying in 2007 to people, and people would be like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Because it wasn't, in 2000, for example, it was still kind of something edgy, but as cool got kind of mainstreamed with the rise of the internet, there were fewer and fewer kind of pockets of cool that were still kind of, hidden away, shall we say. Cool itself, and I mean, you see it on the street now. Now everybody's like, quote unquote, cool. And with that kind of change, counterculture. The counterculture kind of won. And I think it has mixed results. I mean, we don't need to go into that now. There's a few thoughts, if I understand you correctly here, and let's just quickly finish up the comment here. For me, it means that being prolific is no longer the benefit of being a well-recognized artist, but it is a necessity. I think that's super interesting. It's necessary to be prolific, and I actually agree, and I think that's probably been true for 150 years. How many artists that are famous are not incredibly prolific from the last 150 years? It's a really interesting question. I mean, you can look at someone like Leonardo and say, oh, well, there were only 17 paintings, but then you look at the notebooks. I mean, you could look at Vermeer, is something like 20 paintings. Maybe Leonardo was like 22 or something. It doesn't matter. A small amount. Vermeer is another. Now, Vermeer, you have an extraordinary talent, and perhaps was using a kind of camera obscura as well. David Hockney actually, I think, I haven't seen it, but I think did a whole movie on Vermeer and the camera obscura. But all to say, almost all artists that are quote-unquote famous, or just famous, they're pretty prolific. And if you can think of some that aren't, I mean, let's discuss it. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but really, there's something to be said for it's kind of like a newspaper. The larger your print run, the more impact it has. There's something to be said for quantity and being prolific. I mean, and we see Picasso and Warhol as arguably the most famous. Dali, extraordinarily prolific artists. So kind of interesting. And I'd argue the more prolific you are, probably the better you are. In a very loose kind of way of discussion. Let's continue here before someone climbs into my window. I imagine most artists think of their artistic ambition as being one that strives to get to a place that allows oneself to live off their creative work. Yes, and this is another take on the dream. Remember we were talking about monetizing the imagination, Louis? In a sense, yeah, this is another way of, is the language with Louis that kind of made it feel more crude, right? But it's ultimately, you want to live off your creative work. And once achieved, you are now dedicating more of your time to creative work. But if you need to survive by doing things other than your art, you will never get the chance to allow yourself the time and space to be prolific until you make that breakthrough. Yeah, I think you illustrate it quite well. This is the dilemma of basically all artists who are not born rich. And I'd argue being born rich isn't necessarily an advantage. Because because maybe life's been too easy for you, perhaps. So, yeah, I mean, that is the dilemma, but it makes it all the more glorious if you're able to succeed at it. Here, we actually can sell our works, so we all kind of have, I'd argue, the opportunity, interestingly. Continuing on, thank you, Runetoon, and see you tomorrow. Mort Espiral, I love mechs so much. Great show, Adrian, thank you, and couldn't agree more. Mech is kind of like, if I had a hero of the last 6 months in terms of pure just art, Mech with that MS-DOS series I'm still marveling at it. Santiago Marquez, Helio is amazing. Serious robot art, indeed. Indeed, that wonderful, using different colors. Now, speaking of robot art, actually, and there were a few more comments here. Let me quickly, great to hear from Ratcloak. So awesome. Thank you, Ratcloak. Thanks for the comment. Stay safe out there. AK Dell, everything is great here. Well, thank you. And Son of Stag, great to see you. And Siba, great to hear from you. Nero, love to hear your thoughts on my tweet, Pocobelli. So this was on the relevant, making things relevant. I'd also say the word relevant could mean so many things, right? And I might have run away with my own interpretation there. It was meant in the broadest of ways. Something could be relevant to the world or to oneself, to a specific experience or the cliche GM. So thank you for that. Cypher, thanks for the mention. You're welcome. Erigium, Evelyn. I can't find Steven Schwarzer's handle. I think he puts Schwarzer.Steven, Evelyn. Yeah, he's awesome on Instagram. We'll see his work again. I don't think today, but we'll see it again. I'm a huge fan. Real talented guy. Pretty prolific. B, thanks, Adrian. Beautiful show. Never thought my first appearance would be a Santiago. But it was very on point. That goodwill would take me the farthest. Yeah, and another thing is I can't track everybody, and so I'm doing my best to just kind of, it's like a waterfall that I kind of grab some water, and then I kind of, just to keep the chaos in order, maybe I stick with an artist for a while, and then, as that series wraps up, then we move to other people. So, just so you know. Salawaki, and again, apologies, I want to show the Santiago once I have better internet here. Lol, Adrian, thank you so much for including the PSA on this and other Santiago friendship contest photos. DM us your address to get a special NFT Uruguay lanyard. And thank you, Denso, and thank you, Salawaki. Big shout out. And I saw that whole work before the show started, and it was hilarious. I loved it. So Clown Vamp here has posted a few more images. And as you'll see, on the left is the token. You wouldn't even know. It's hard to tell. I mean, very painterly for Clown Vamp, eh? And then here is the Art Matter rendition. And of course, I think I brought it up large here. Of course, we're discussing how, remember the white that is painted first, and then it kind of looks like inkjet or some sort of spray over top is the technique here, because you see the brush strokes. So interesting, and we have some comments as well on that. Is that everything here? So just to give a feel, part of Whisper's auction, and I think the auction is tomorrow, November 1st, for those that are interested. And so Evelyn, I'm talking, I believe, about Art Matter and the whole paint plotting. I may be wrong with the process, but I think the texture comes from the underpainting. I think we're talking about what we're just looking at, like these kinds of works. And the texture was not a history of what happened in the process. Instead, it was there to look like texture. In that case, the whole painting will have a texture that talks about what happened in the underpainting and then spray painted almost flat a new layer over it, still communicating what happened below it. And since the texture was a pattern, artificial, and not information of the process, the communication becomes confusing. This is a very observant comment here. I think this was kind of a response to Lorna Mills a little bit, just like adding to the discussion. It almost becomes a print with Photoshop effect, quote unquote, oil paint applied, but the effect is built up in plaster to make a texture. Lol, hope this makes sense. Absolutely. Brilliant kind of analysis. The shortcoming, I would argue, lies in the misinformation of the process that still can be read in the painting. But I like the whole exhibition experimenting, and those shortcomings of the robot or software can surely be used in someone's advantage. So very interesting. Corey Haber and Avery Singer, I think, do robot paintings good, but with normal tracing of process history, oil stick naturally gives texture for the process. So apparently these were done, you'd never know, actually, that this was done by a robot. Here, maybe a little bit more. Right, so this was a response to Lorna Mills. So very interesting observation and comment. Arun Toon also added to the commentary here. I've been thinking about Lorna Mills' commentary all week after the Art Matter, Tender, Transient Lab show Reflections Painted AI Portraits. And don't forget, Rune Toon saw this in person. I have a lot to say and a lot to ask and say and would love some feedback. What if we reframe our thinking about the Art Matter robotic creations not as paintings, but as robotic prints that used paint? I have many thoughts about the presentation curation of the show and believe that the tech and our use of the tech, as well as our perception of the work, is in an early stage. The mode of production, though advanced, is still new. As Pocobelli said, version 1.0. This is exactly how I feel. Obviously, this is exactly how I feel. It feels like a 1.0, you know, because it only seems like a matter of time before. Now, they weren't getting white paint and then painting it. It was more just taking the mold and then starting to kind of craft a texture. And let's continue here. Setting aside personal opinions about specific work, the curation, the collaboration, etc. I love the show and want to see more, and I would love to see it too. And I think it's really exciting. And I completely want to echo, I love the experimentation and just the pushing things forward. This is how it's done. It's kind of scientific inquiry of sorts here. Pataphysical inquiry, one could argue. I consider it another step by an avant-garde group of artists, robotic technological collaborators, Art Matter, and yeah, beautifully put. Let's reframe our thinking about the show and objects presented. Are these paintings or are these prints? And there's actually quite a bit here. Let's quickly run through it though. Or something else entirely. Nothing about the image was painted except that a robot used a paintbrush and paint to create texture. The underlying medium is the only thing that is paint, but the AI reference prompting itself is likely not at all a reference to paint or painted images. A painting can take on many different qualities. Strange Thing images, for instance, are referential to 16th to 18th century painting, where the brushstroke was very hidden, but these paintings all had texture. Many of the original AI works in the show seem to be simulations of something not painterly, and therefore the textural painting of the flat or graphic image was ironic or ill-informed or unexpected. But I hesitate to say this dynamic was a shortcoming of the show. Rather, my expectations about how these images ought to be presented were brought into question. This is a very interesting point, because maybe we should be very open-minded about, like, maybe it shouldn't be a criticism if there's a texture that doesn't match up with the paint. Maybe it doesn't need to replicate, you know, a color, a physical painter, right? Interesting question. What is a painting? What is the difference between a drawing and a painting? What is the difference between drawing with a non-digital medium and drawing with a digital medium? Were these robotically materialized AI portrait paintings? I'm so glad Lorna Mills made this comment because it has given me much to digest. Thank you for your authenticity, Lorna. I think we need to reframe our thinking about painting, especially in a largely digital world and digital art culture. I believe art matter is starting to juxtapose and combine so many processes that the final products are becoming new visual objects. Beautifully put. It's no longer entirely painting. It's robotic print made with paint or an extension of painting and printing. Please comment or share. So, and some more, there we are. So just super interesting, isn't it? They're unique objects. I mean, we know that much. They are unique objects. So one last comment here in the great debate on the paint plotting tools. Grateful for the discussion, Runetoon and Lorna Mills. I think this is Lily Illo out of Australia. I think the work sits somewhere between printing and painting. In the exhibition, the ground does not show through, although I am told it is possibly just lay down the white oil in areas, not all over. So there is another possibility. That is perhaps how one might differentiate drawing from painting. With drawing, the vacant ground is integral to the work as much as the marks placed on it, whereas with a painting, we often try more readily to obfuscate the ground. This doesn't always hold up, and the ground is important to painters too. With these new works, the purpose of the white oil paint is to provide texture. And there was some underpainting involved in this first stage too. Okay, so that's new information. Some might choose to replicate closely the rhythms of trad painterly marks in the texture stage, but others might choose something altogether different. I think that was great about the learning process was envisaging what might be possible with this texture layer, how marks could be made there, what tools were available, and what effect would that have on the printed quote-unquote oil paint layer that would then be laid down on top. Do we need the print? Maybe not even. There's something raw, beautiful about the texture layer in itself. Now that's an interesting question. Maybe as a monocolor, like maybe it should just all be in white, for example. Like I'd love to see that, what that looks like. I guess we got a few clues from those videos. Finally, for me, the aim is not to offer pretense of a painting, but to simply explore a new process. I love that a robot far away from me tended to this surface, tracked all over its X and Y axes. Perhaps part scribe, guided by the artwork file and some masked files of hives. Perhaps there's a drawing component here, drawing hives. So many thoughts. This is a great discussion. Would love a good chat with you both. Well, maybe we do a space. I mean, it's pretty booked for the next, maybe I think in mid-December, we may have, or if someone doesn't show up for some reason, then maybe we do, but everybody's always shown up, but maybe we do keep that one on the table, the great paint plotting debate. Maybe that's the name of the show. Pale Kirill. So here, finally, one more physical works, physical oil painting by Art Matter Robot. So 13 one-of-ones, half an ETH reserve, links and details. So here, I mean, this looks pretty good, doesn't it? And again, is this using a different process? Because this kind of doesn't look like what we saw before, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know the extent of the Art Matter Robot. Is this the same process with the white underpainting? I'm not sure. So a lot of, unknown questions here. Nick St. Pierre, personalizing AI to a particular style is getting really good. So a little on AI. This is one of those massive AI art accounts. I just trained a model on Rick and Morty using EverArt AI, some program I've never even heard of. I uploaded 10 images and in about 5 minutes had a model I could prompt. The prompts were Taylor Swift yelling and Larry David drinking a soda. Pretty impressive. So kind of training it on a style and then getting these excellent results. Santiago, a few studio shots here. So here is a painting from Santiago. And look at this. So this is, of course, Rip Cache. And we were looking at these works here, or some of them. This kind of looks different. I'm not exactly sure. I think we're looking at variations of this last one here. And there's another clue here. Please join me in congratulating the one and only PTM NFT on its strategic acquisition of Rust, Oxygen, and Corrosion. The latest triptych from my public-private collection. It's a series of 2-component artworks. Each piece in the collection features a screen print on metal panel, accompanied by an underlying NFT, both of which are linked. Thank you for your patronage. I want to extend my deepest gratitude for your mentorship and efforts in championing my work. It is an honor to be in your collection. So here is the triptych that we've been kind of watching develop here by Ripcash. And I think we were seeing a variation on this, but I'm not, maybe it was the other work that I was confusing together. All to say, it looks really cool, and that rust looks great. You can guess who this is, Walk. Hello. So with Hello Kitty by the masterful spray paint artist Walk and digital artist, and we have some more walks later in the show. I thought this was kind of hilarious. The fact that this Guandonarian, whose work we've looked at more than once here on this show, the fact that this random thing has more traction than a piece that took me a month to finish makes me a little sad. And it's pretty cool. I mean, there's something to this, like if you're taking kind of like this hardcore, for lack of a better term, kind of capitalist business, let's call it a business mindset where, let's say you're going for the most amount of views possible, kind of flashy. I mean, Sabato has kind of made fun of this to a certain degree, but like flashes, this sort of stuff, you know, it kind of works on a very reptilian level with large groups of people. Here you see Guandonarian got 124,000 views, and I would probably say so far, look at how many retweets, 676. I mean, how many followers does, like, I'm kind of curious, 15,000 followers, like, this might have brought on thousands of followers. Like, remember Popple, again, when 4 million views, and don't forget, just for context here, I was looking at Elon Musk tweet, which is one of the biggest accounts. It was like 34 million views. Like, Popple got 10% of an Elon Musk tweet from one of his pixel art works. So, pixel art, there's something to be said for it. And look at this, Nifty Monkey Headache. So, again, kind of a loud, flashy kind of pixel art work. And look at how many views that Nifty Monkey got. 845,000. We're just under 1 million here. So that is pretty impressive. Let's look at how many followers. 36,000. So pretty impressive. 845,000 Headache. Kind of looks, kind of has a bit of, it looks how it feels, or how it's titled. This was super interesting as well. You know, I was going to make this a short episode. It's not turning out that way, but it's not a huge episode, actually, as you see here. The tabs, this is everything. This is super interesting. I've been looking at this account a couple of times here in the last couple of days. Artificial World. I asked ChatGPT, who also makes a DALL-E, to create 8-bit pixelated versions of ancient landmarks and cities in DALL-E 3. The results are insane. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. So, you know, which don't exist anymore. Look at this. To me, this is an improvement on what we were seeing with the pixel art, or if you've ever experimented. I did some experimentation with it on Midjourney. This is impressive. And again, kind of like you could imagine using this as inspiration for a pixel artwork as well. And, you know, again, I'm kind of back to the original idea with AI for me was just a compositional tool, idea maker. And here I feel like we see it again. Atlantis. This looks like the 7 Wonders of the World or something. Tower of Babel. Pretty impressive. Here, Chateau de Versailles. Okay, so that is not from the ancient world. I need to go to Versailles. I've never been there. Ancient city of Mohenjo-Daro, part of the Indus Valley civilization. Pretty cool. This looks like the Parthenon. And what do we have? Ancient city of Petra in Jordan. And here, Cusco in Peru. Wow. I mean, maybe this has been destroyed. Paris, Eiffel Tower. I'd never seen that, Cusco. So impressive works. We could probably go all day here. Taj Mahal, Machu Picchu. I feel like I've seen that photo, which is kind of hilarious. Ancient city of Carthage. Cool. So, okay, so it goes, okay, there's only a couple more here. Ancient city of Angkor Wat in Cambodia. That's pretty cool. History is a great thing. I'm reading the history of Sicily right now, and it's absolutely fascinating. And you know what I realized? It's kind of terrifying. It's terrifying because you realize, and we've mentioned this before on the whole war topic, that really history is, you know, the history of war, injustice, slavery, in cruelty. We are very fortunate, those of us who are avoiding war. It's terrifying reading history sometimes. The history of Sicily is terrifying. It's just, the amount of people that get their lives. It's a lot to take in, and maybe this is obvious to a lot of people, but for me, it was quite something to read. Fantastic book. I can't remember the name of it or the author. Maybe on a future episode. Nicholas Dietrich, cool pixel artist. So work in progress here. And let me just, that's actually a real building. Cool colors as ever and really nice dithering, really carefully made. And you gotta love this building here. And I wonder which building Nicholas is talking about, actually. And let me just make sure. Okay, but cool work there from Nicholas Dietrich. And Kristen Roos with another addition here, Vortex Block. Part of the new series Scan Cycle, animation created with vintage software that has been manipulated through video synthesis techniques, scan processing, and more to come. So this is on Object. So kind of, again, a more jittery Kristen Roos work here. And look at this. Okay, so this is an AI artwork. I'm sure you recognize the artist, Tukes. The reason it's way up here in the show, look at this. Thanks for the repost, Photoshop. So Photoshop, and again, sometimes we might think of ourselves in a bit of a little bubble here, but we're not in a bubble at all. There's Photoshop reposting Tukes. So that is impressive. Gorgeous work here by Tukes. And if you didn't hear it, we did a Twitter space last week with Tukes, and it was fantastic. And we also did one with Cider, this awesome artist here. Remember that tweet where I said, send me your wallet? I think 0.01 for this is sweet. Just an awesome artist here. I don't know the reference, but it doesn't matter. It looks great, and it's brilliantly kind of executed by the great Cider, who I like to call just a total natural, out of, is it Brazil? And a industrial engineering student who's saying it's crazy people would be doing art for a living, probably one of the few that could actually do it. In the digital art scene right now. Isolationists, thoughts and prayers on this week's super rare top 10 list. So I never saw this. And there's going to be a lot of works from Twitter here because they don't take as much bandwidth to load up. So because of course Twitter forces you to reduce your file size. So that is why, because I have no Wi-Fi here, I'm using data on the phone. Look at how beautiful this is. This writing here almost looks like, what do they call it? Asymmetric writing. Kind of has a Max Ernst kind of feel. If I had more data, I would show it. Kind of late Max Ernst made all these fake letters. Anyways, it's cool. It looks like asymmetric writing there. And of course, often Isolationist has a figure or kind of a portrait, you might say, a bust or just the head. And really nice. Sometimes it looks physical. This looks pretty physical here. So maybe it's a mix of things. Nice piece from Isolationist. Thoughts and Prayers. Cool title too, kind of Tezos Object OG. PP Universal, Tramontina Corazon, I don't know what that means. I thought a brilliant composition here. Like I've just never seen anything. It's kind of got a Dali feel to it with this knife on the edge of a windowsill or window frame here. Really original piece here and nicely painted, by the way. Really nice painting. PP Universal, October 30th. Bit of a Halloween work, maybe. And here's the work I was trying to show yesterday. I think it was like half a gigabyte or something. It wasn't loading up. 6 without S is 9 is now sold out. So this was an edition of 10. It was a collaboration between PP Universal and Mason. Endless Mason. Awesome artist. Great collaboration here. Let me just bring it up big. So this is what I was trying to load up yesterday. This is a lower res version, of course. So if you want the high res, go to Object and check it out. Really cool impact there. And here's an artist I haven't seen for a while. Oops. La Delmas, and I believe I follow La Delmas here. Yeah, I'm sure I do. That was just an X, that is an X, what do you call it, bug. GM, a preview of my next work for Arzora. Shout out to Neutro Arts. So maybe La Delmas is out of South America or Latin America here. Anyways, it's a beautiful piece here. And I think I might have accidentally brought it up big. I did. Okay, awesome. And here we have, you can always recognize her work with the face and the eyes and everything. A really cool artist, cool kind of contemporary clothing, this massive, I forget what you call these, poodle, and a dinosaur, and just nicely painted, another tracksuit here, just cool work. Nice grass, original painting, really original digital painting. Let's see if we got a title. Not yet. So check it out on Zora, probably be cheap mint, maybe free. Limbo, I'd never seen this Limbo before. I assume it's new. I think this is called Medea. And so kind of got an ancient kind of classical feeling here. And the eye, it feels and looks like a Limbo here. Medea's Room is the name. So kind of a classical feeling on that one. Great colors on that. And of course, Tornado Rodriguez, we were looking at this little area here. We got a little preview, and here is a bit of a Halloween work. And here the ghost is coming in and attacking the skeleton at the drawing desk here. Let's see if we have information. Drawing with Inflation is live. I feel honored to be a part of Identidades, an amazing exhibition by You Don't Know Who We Are. Check it out on Collector. So check it out on Collector. Maybe I already followed them. I don't know. Don't miss the chance to read and enjoy it. You don't know who we are. So cool. I've never even heard of this platform. How cool is that? And Turkarak, gesture study, kind of has a bit of a narcissist kind of feel to it. The guy looking in the mirror, obsessing, and then kissing himself. So there definitely seems to be a narcissist theme here in this work. So more just interesting piece by Turkarak, gesture study edition of 10 for 5 Tezos each. And this is another work I was trying to show yesterday. Here is, unfortunately, the lower res Twitter version. This is by Gozo, who put together some of those brilliant AI kind of collage, textured collage pieces that we saw about a month ago. And here's just a new one, new animated still life in the Alchemy collection, and by Explainer Gallery. Huge supporter, Negredo, which is a reference to alchemy. So pretty cool work here. And Rinnyfish, sometimes Alien, another cool work here. Kind of has a bit of it's almost like the Psycho influence here with these cool big pixels on top. Interesting, kind of a different work here from Rinnyfish. Cool colors too, that beige, that gray beige in the background and everything. And kind of a cool feel, sometimes Alien. Elna Frederick, interesting piece here. And again, if you've been on Tezos for a while, you've probably seen some of her work, and it has this kind of optical illusion where it looks like things are always moving. Kind of makes you dizzy to look at it. And here you see maybe someone maybe protecting a kind of Bambi of sorts as the arrows come in. Field, kind of mysterious here. Edition of 1050 Tezos, let's just see. And there are 5 left on primary, so selling for a lot of money there on primary. That is impressive. Atelier 407, Springtime Hues, and this is from September, so I saw this on Twitter, so I guess this is a little older, but just a nice piece by Atelier 407. And Skamra. You know what this reminded me of is those kind of negative space that we're seeing in mech.txt's work, and I thought this was pretty interesting. Let's just see what it says. Just some characters there. So another cool work by Skamra. Cool colors too. Interesting combination. Again, that negative space. Kind of just really cool. And mech.txt doing more experiments combining pixel art with the MS-DOS art, what I'm loosely calling the MS-DOS art. Very interesting. And here you see almost like a Roman arch of sorts. Very interesting. And Inner Sanctum. And here Kappen with a work, and I don't think we saw this one. I think we saw a variation on this one, but I'm not positive. Log entry number 2, location planet X42, and it looks like almost some landscape, almost look like sea animals, but who knows what that is. And look at this great, almost like lined paper underneath, and then the writing fits through it. I saw mech.txt also kind of working with making his own font, all very interesting. Kareem Safa. I'm not sure if this is new or not, but I thought it was cool. Just zeros and ones here, and a little pixel art machine here, courtesy of the pioneer, Kareem Safa. And here, not a number. Invalidated Futures, another great title. Approved Maze Alpha, 1 of 1, 10 Tezos. So pretty reasonable, probably programmed with P5JS. If I had to hazard a guess, you can get on Object for 10 Tezos if it's still available. Sui Soichi, Cortex number 1. So a cool kind of pixel artwork here. And this is posted on Twitter. And I'm not sure if you can, where you buy these, but kind of a cool mix of a lot of things. A lot of kind of primary colors here, red, green, and blue. Just interesting work here. Continuing on, and this is also usually dither. You can turn these around. Again, this is just on Twitter here, so you can't do that. But here, a collaboration with Demon Ego. Cool colors here. Working with the Demon Ego sketchbook. In the TV here, and there, of course, is the Demon Ego for the logo. So cool work, cool collaboration there. I imagine it's on Object, and if not soon, I imagine it will be there soon if it's not there already. Ricano, customer support, another cool title. Apple computer, old Apple. Never seen an Apple laptop like that, but we'll take it. Just cool work by Ricano, some money, old cell phone, just having fun here. And that is 5 Tezos, and there are 8 left on primary. And that was just released. Lena Eckhart, a artist that also is trying to load up yesterday, Relocation. So here, another kind of animated abstract here by Lena Eckhart. And just cool, kind of looks like a flower of sorts, but it's probably just an animated abstraction. Cool title, Relocation, and yeah, just cool work there. And another kind of glitchy animated abstraction. This is from Kiro. An auction started from Green Cross Live. Driptych on Foundation by DJ Kiro. And kind of a cool combination. Kind of reminds you of Martin Brooke a little bit in this combination of painting and video. Here there's more of an emphasis on video rather than Martin Brooke. It's more of an emphasis on collage with a touch of just kind of noise, that TV snow. Anyways, all very interesting. Long, 30 seconds. Kurt Hustle Collective's got a new kind of sumo figure here, Bigu Waya. So this is an edition of 550 Tezos, and cool wireframe of it. And here, just cool work as usual. And continuing with this kind of Japanese theme here. Skamra here shows up again, and I thought this was a beautiful work. I almost started with it. It was really beautiful. I like these portraits with computers, and also keeping this other stuff in just for good measure. It's all feeling pretty original to me. And again, AI, textured AI, and kind of that extra transformation turned into illustration. Skamra is being pretty prolific. Here's Lily Illo, who had the comment earlier, maybe an orange. Interesting, just kind of, I'm not sure if this is M-props. Look at this. I mean, I assume this is a digital file, but when you see this on the left here, it starts to look like a physical, doesn't it? Yeah, but that's probably just AI. I mean, it's pretty amazing what's going on here. So very interesting and cool work. Blue mustache there. And you can probably recognize who this is. I don't recognize the reference, but I love it. This is by Walk, and look at how brilliant. I obviously follow Walk for a long time now, huge fan. That is a Twitter bug, and look at this great cloud sprayed and everything. I'm not sure what the reference is, if there is one. Just brilliantly done. And we have another one. I think it's called Best Friends. Exactly. And they're, wow. So they're someone on Getty Images looks like wearing Walk's work as a t-shirt, if I'm not mistaken there. That's pretty cool. So keeps getting more interesting. Fantastic work by Walk. Just super duper cool. Great, great artist. Alexander Bergruin, upcoming exhibition, Freya Douglas Morris, The Star I Give to You. So where is this? Wednesday. Doesn't say where. What city? Alexander Bergruin. So wherever this gallery is. Anyways, looks pretty cool. This artist here, just sort of randomly saw it on Instagram. So trad art, physical artworks here. And shall we quickly look? I'm just kind of curious if it loads up. And here they don't even give the city. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, who knows where that is? Maybe I should know. Maybe they're famous enough where I should know. Kiro Mello, cool artist here, and this is interesting. 1,200 euros, 50 by 20 centimeters. So actually pretty small work here, or 60 by 30 framed with a map, original illustration on paper. I thought it was quite beautifully done. And here we saw this artist yesterday, Joachim Official, and I remember Robin. Here's Wonder Woman, and I think these are really nicely done. And of course, I forgot again, Christian Hilligerdy Gallery. This show's going to sell out, especially in America. They picked the right location to show this. This is just fun and gorgeous, and I adore. It's like an original Golden Age comic cover here, because I'm pretty familiar with my Golden Age comic covers. I don't remember a Wonder Woman looking like this, and it looks fabulous. This was also interesting. So Stan Gross is the person who posted this, and the artist is Marta Guisanda. Stan Gross, for those that are in Berlin, in the contemporary art scene, is kind of another pillar of the community there, just a big supporter of the arts there. So big shout out to Stan Gross, should he ever watch this. And here, he often does really great documentation, interesting art. So this is Marta Guisande for the Cajetan Gallery. I thought these are pretty nice pieces. So just kind of cool to see here as we expand our range here. And finally, Julia Wachtel. This was kind of an interesting, I thought a provocative work. Kind of looks like Rauschenberg's bed is the reference here. I don't know if you can hear those bells here. That is telling us to wrap up the show. So just a cool artist. We'll see more of Julia Wachtel. And that is your show, my friends. And I forgot the music, but maybe we hear it if you can hear the bell here. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you at the Twitter space tomorrow. Until next time, take care.